I know that this week has been a mad week prophetically for a lot of things happening. We are going to start off in a different way. So rather than just going straight into worship, we are going to invite Watchman Trevor up. So give Trevor a round of applause, please, as he comes up.
That's a big book, Trevor.
There's a lot in it this morning, unfortunately. So, good morning, church. I'll just get straight on. There's a lot in this morning. So, just start off with what Gary's spoken of a lot of times, or talk about Henry Kissinger. He's formerly the Secretary of State for America. And he said, if you control the food, you control the people. If you control the energy, you control the continent. And if you control the finances, you control the world. And exactly the way things are going at the minute, with food shortages, with energy shortages, the next thing coming is digital banking. They're looking control of everything here. And actually, a couple of things I found out just this week about Henry Kissinger. He's actually German. He was born in Germany. His parents were Jewish and they fled Germany at the start of the Second World War. But a lot of people said that he's the Secretary of State, so he was the guy who was sort of making peace treaties with a lot of countries around the world. A lot of people said he was power crazy. A lot said he was actually trigger happy. If he didn't get the agreement he wanted around the table, he was quite happy to send the American military and to sort the issue out. And here's the thing, here's Klaus Schwab. Again, he was German. His mother was Jewish and had to flee at the start of the Second World War. And guess who Klaus Schwab studied under? Henry Kissinger. He met Henry Kissinger in Harvard University. And he's actually proud to say, I've been studying under Henry Kissinger for the last 50 years. And I said to Henry Kissinger, a lot of people thought he was a fascist. A lot of people say Klaus Schwab, his father was a Nazi. His father had a business. He built machines and stuff for the German war machine. I actually believe he built in Telemark in Norway. Germans were trying to build the atomic bomb. His father supplied a lot of stuff for that. What they call heavy water, at the time we know it as hydrogen. The Germans were trying to build the hydrogen bomb, and his father supplied the Germans with the materials to build that. So a lot of people, they can't find much out about Klaus Schwab, it's all sort of covered up. Does he still have the Nazi fascist ideas? Is that why you get on with Henry Kissinger, And again, this all revolves around the WEF, the World Economic Forum. And the World Economic Forum, they now have under their control the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, the World Meteorological Organization, United Nations and International Monetary Fund. They are all under the WEF's umbrella. And the thing is that Gary spoke off last week about the Eagle military intelligence talking about by the year 2025, the likes of America, there's maybe 370 million people, will be 250 million people will be lost. They don't say why. Again, they say like the UK, 70 million people, 50 million people will be lost by 2025. I believe that's through what they're doing now with the farmers cutting back food. Starvation will play a big, big part in that. Yep. And it's actually just this week, the United Nations released an article saying people need to be starving before they will do certain jobs. And there was such a backlash over this, they actually had to take it down off their website. So they're basically saying, to get people to do what we want, we'll have to starve them. And there's a massive backlash over this at the moment. And again, should have put these pictures up. And again, that's Henry Kissinger and Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum. They're now good friends, and they're pushing all this sort of fascist, communist, globalist agenda. And this is what they call the ESGs, that Gary has spoken about as well. And ESGs are basically environmental social governance. It's basically sort of for businesses, where you have to be showing in your business that you are cutting the gas that's going into the atmosphere. It's all about the weather. They're saying, you produce too much gas, like the farmers, your cows are producing too much methane, we'll have to shut you down. And you see here, there's actually a score. You get scores, the better you are, the higher your score is. Guess who one of the highest scoring nations in the world is? Sri Lanka, which has just collapsed. They followed the World Economic Forum to a letter, and now they've collapsed. They thought that by 2025 that they would be one of the richest nations in the world, and now their economy is totally decimated because they followed the WEF's recommendations And again, we have shutting down so many farms. I believe this is where a lot of this depopulating the world will come from, starvation. We actually have farmers now saying, no, we're farmers, not terrorists, why are you shutting us down? Oops, I think I missed one. Even the Amish community, which was sort of, they kept themselves, they lived off the land for years. We now have federal agents in America coming in and shutting them down with no reason given. They're just told, shut down or you'll be fined $300,000. It's just totally madness. And then, of course, we have other nations. You know, we have Holland, Belgium, Bangladesh. They say these nations are on the brink of collapse because of what they're doing with farming. They've actually, in America, what they're using to shut farms down, they're saying that, you know, on your farm there's been seen butterflies, which are endangered species. So we're now shutting your farm down. Your farm is now a protected area. We also have what we call sage grouse, grouse bird. Actually had a whiskey out for years called the famous grouse. Saying this grouse has been seen in your farm. Your farm is now a protected area because this is also an endangered species. And they're using these excuses to shut farms down. And it's funny who's buying all the land up. Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. They are buying all this land up, shutting all the farms down with no intentions of farming it. It's to bring in starvation. The very first thing Henry Kissinger spoke of, control the people, control the food. And they just sort of have a look at this picture. I believe this is all part of what the Bible and Daniel spoke about the fourth beast. And if you understand the beasts aren't beasts. They're talking about nations that rule the world. And at one point, Rome ruled the world. But Rome, like all these other nations, they weren't destroyed. They didn't collapse. It sort of collapsed in on itself. And it says in Revelation 13, and I saw one of its heads, as it were, wounded to a death. And I saw one of its heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the one word wondered after the beast. And he was talking about the re-emergence of Rome, not as it was then, but as it would be today, on the same empire, covering the same sort of areas. And I believe that's, you read that in the Rome, what Rome were doing, what they had. They have set up a Senate, which was the upper class to rule the Senate. It's a bit like America to have the Senate, a bit like the UK to have Parliament. And they set up the Senate to run the country. But they looked at everybody else as plebs. Plebs basically mean the lower grade, the lower classes, the working class. I think it was only a few years ago, remember, some guy in a Parliament came out of 10 Downing Street, had an argument with a couple of police officers, called them plebs. You know, you're just working class, get out the road. But this is what the Senate thought of the Roman army. And what the Roman army does, they said, was that right? We're out of here. They left Rome and went to another city. And then the upper class, the council, realised, hold on, without them, we've no protection. We need to get the army on our side. So they brought the army back, asked for forgiveness, or what they'd called them, Roman army back again. And I think it's just that, just not coincidence that today, many in Europe are calling for a European army. I think this WEF realises without the military backing, they're nothing. It's the military that will control the world through them. Or the Jews say they control the world through the military. And without the military's backing, they have nothing. They're nobodies. So they're called for this European army to be built because they know they need the army on their side. Again, there's a lot of things, just run through these quickly here. Some things have been sort of commonly this week. Actually, Klaus Schwab was arrested last year and charged with fraud over COVID. That's all the details I'll give. I'm not going into any more details than that, but I give say that be brushed on the carpet. And I have Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, said without regret as she smiled that New Zealand was on its way to becoming a two-tier society. those who took the job and those who didn't. So those who took the job, you'll be looked after. Those who didn't, you'll not be allowed into your house, you'll not be allowed into the supermarkets. He says that's what she has planned for New Zealand. And probably not other countries will follow suit. And again, how this week, Meta, which is owned by Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, have been fined €450 million by the Irish government because their headquarters is in Dublin. So the Irish government hasn't overlooked them that they're doing things right. That says for platform violations against EU privacy laws and protection for children. So they were gathering data on children. When the Irish government found out, they found €450 million. Then again this week in the USA, an organisation was set up by Biden to find out where COVID came from. And that organisation came back and said, it actually came from the Wuhan lab in China. So whether it was released accidentally or on purpose, we don't know. They took that to Biden, and he was told, they were told, that's not the answer we want, go away and bring us the answer we want to hear. And they had to go back and say, oh no, it originated in the food market. Biden administration didn't want to hear the truth. And then again, just this week, a hospital study in June this year that said that hydrogen peroxide mouthwash and a nasal rinse offered more protection than all the COVID jobs. You think something simple like that, something because of pound, but they've put so many nations into debt over these jobs for something that could have been money that could be used easier, cost less. Basically what they've done now is put your children and your grandchildren into debt for years. That's basically the bottom line. It's like, all this sounds doom and gloom. A lot of people don't even want to hear it. So I'll finish on a good note. I was actually watching a guy the other night who said it was a black guy, a pastor, I don't know why he's American or African, but he said, Jesus is not coming back. He'll not be back within 50 years. He'll not be back within the next 100 years because the church isn't ready. All I have news for you, he's coming back after the church that is ready. If you're not ready, you're left behind. It's like the 10 virgins. 5 were ready, 5 weren't ready. You know, and that says in 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 4, people are always asking, where's the promise that's coming? There's plenty of promises through the word, but one of my favourites is actually from the tomb. You know, Jesus in the tomb, he says, the grave clothes were lying, but they have like a face cloth. It covers the face. He said the face cloth was folded up, neat and tidy. Although Jesus was a carpenter, what a carpenter did after he finished building his product, after he sort of varnished it, sanded it, cleaned it, he had to fold the cloth up, set it down, to say, and happy with that, the work is finished. What did Jesus cry on the cross? It is finished. But there's also another meaning. And that is when people were having a meal, and if you were having a meal at a table, and you were finished your meal, you used to lay the cloth down. The server knew you were finished. But Jesus in the cloth in the tomb, it was folded up like that there. It meant, I'll be back, I will return. That's the promise of Jesus, I will return. Again, we'll have that promise. Right backwards. Hold on there. No, what's left that one off. But it's actually about the promise of the Lamb and going to the banquet. It's going to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And I believe Jesus often said things twice. When he spoke, he often says, verily, verily, I say unto you. And verily means truly. It means truly, truly. So when Jesus said it twice, he was trying to emphasize something. He said, there's something here you need to see. There's something you need to grasp hold of. And I think that cloth in the tomb was saying things twice. It is finished, but I shall return. Amen.